Hey everybody, this is Danny with Legendary Muscle, and today I'm here with Dave and his 2013 Dodge Viper GTS. Thanks for being on the show.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Hey, so the last time you saw Dave, he had his beautiful Pantera, and today he's got another beautiful car, which is the Viper. Dave, to start off with, how did you get this car, man?
Well, I bought it new, so I ordered it new. That was a fun time because in 2012 at the New York Auto Show, this car was displayed as the grand opening of the Viper, back to Viper again. 2011 and 2012, there were no Vipers, and the Gen 5, which is what this is called, Generation 5, was introduced in March, I think it was, 2012 at the New York Auto Show. Ralph Gilles introduced it, big fanfare, big crowd, and in this color, the STRYKER red. So I fell in love with the car immediately, watching the video over and over and over again. And I couldn't get a chance to get up there for the show, but I did watch the video the moment it was on live. So I fell in love with the car and had to, borrow from Paul to get Peter to come through the banks and get it all squared away. And it took me about a year to get financing all kind of routed for the car. Gotcha. And then in January of 2013, the car was able to be ordered. Went to the dealership that I had already discussed how we were going to work the financing, plus also the deal. I wanted to pay list price. I didn't have a problem doing that, but I didn't want to pay over. Yeah. And they were nice enough to work a deal with me. That was Heritage Dodge Jeep in Parkville. Okay. So right on Hartford Road in Parkville, Maryland. So it was they worked out a really nice deal for me, and we go to order the car. And on the ordering form is STRYKER red, along with the choice of the other colors. Gotcha. Well, I'm ready. STRYKER red was a very, very big nut as far as money. The STRYKER red color and package was an option price of $14,900 over and above the price of the car. Whoa. So it was a tough decision, but I had finally made that decision. I was going to do it. I really wanted that color. We go to order it, and the computer system won't allow us to order it. Keeps on kicking it back. So we get SRT, the performance division of Dodge, who's making the car, on the phone, and they don't know the answer to why it's not working. So it was about 2 days later, I had to go back to the Dodge dealer after we found all this out, that I found out that I could not order a STRYKER red Viper. They had made 36 of them, and they were already in production or done at the time when I was going through this, and all 36 had been approved by 36 dealers in America to sell one car each. Okay. So they had already agreed to take their cars, so all 36 cars were spoken for at 36 dealers, which meant if I wanted to buy a STRYKER red, I would have to deal with one of those dealers. None of them, at the time I was in Maryland, none of them were in Maryland or Virginia or Pennsylvania, so I was going to be outside the states pretty good, and I was going to have to deal with somebody who's probably asking way over list price. Gotcha. Which I couldn't do. So I had to give up my dream of my SRT STRYKER red car. And I ordered Shadow Blue Pearl. Very pretty car. Nice car too. So a month and a half later, car's already ordered. I'm thinking Dodge is probably working on that bad boy soon. Okay. I'm at the New York Auto Show in 2013. And Ralph Gilles, the CEO of SRT, the performance division, and also the designer of this car, happened to have been there. I see him there. All right. So I walk up to him and I say, Ralph, I said, I'm Dave Serio. You don't know me. I said, but I've ordered a brand new Viper. I want to thank you for bringing the car back. It's beautiful. I'm looking forward to it, and I just wanted to thank you. And I start to walk away because I wasn't going to take his time up and things like that. He goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. No. He goes, tell me. He goes, what color did you order? And I said, well, I ordered Shadow Blue Pearl. Oh, you're going to love that color. I saw that. I drove that car down to Florida. It's a beautiful color. People really like it. I said, really? I said, I'm looking forward to it. I said, but it was my second choice. And he looked at me kind of like, And I said, well, he goes, you ordered a car of that price and it's your second choice? I said, well, I wanted STRYKER red, and I told him real quick the story. So he says, hold on. He calls over a guy that's been standing about 25 feet from us. He calls this guy over. Turns out it's Steve Sharples, who's head of production for Viper. He says, Dave was talking to me about a STRYKER red car and says he can't buy one unless he buys one from the dealers that already have it, and they're going to charge over list. Steve goes, yep, that's probably right. He goes, we picked 36 of our best dealers and offered them the car, and they all accepted. So it's up to them right now. Gotcha. He says, so can we build more, is what Ralph asked to Steve. And Steve says, you're the CEO. If you say build more, we build more. Not a problem. Love to. So Ralph looks at me, Ralph looks at Steve, I look at Steve, I look at Ralph, and there's like 30 seconds of dead air. Nobody's saying a word. And I learned in sales one real quick thing. Don't be the first to talk. You lose. So I just shut up. And about 30 seconds later, he goes to Steve, he goes, make Dave his car. He goes, you got to pay for the option. I said, I understand. And you got to put the deluxe interior in. Okay. He goes, make the car. And Ralph shook my hand. I shook his hand and said, thank you very much. He walked away, and Steve and I are standing there. And I looked at Steve and said, do I think what really just happened? Are they really changing the color on my car to Stryker red? Steve goes, if Ralph says do it, we're going to do it.
That's beautiful.
So
man.
that was the meeting there. They took my information. I had my order information in my wallet. I just happened to have it. And I had the order information, my number and all that jazz, gave it to Steve, and we parted ways. 3 days later, I get a call from Steve. He's back in Detroit, and he's asking me a favor. He goes, they found out that they have to close the paint shop down for like a week to 10 days in order to paint a car Stryker red. It's a custom paint job. It has a paint code, but it has no touch-up paint. You can't go to a body shop and just have them do the paint and get it taken care of.
Yeah,
it has to go back to Prefix, the company that painted the Vipers at the factory. So he says, we have to close the shop down for a while because we want to do 25 cars, if that's okay. I said, sure. As long as one of them's mine, I'm okay.
Yeah,
he goes, well, yours will be number 37, and we'll get the other, 24. We're going to do 25 at one time, so you're going to have Stryker red cars as a family. I said, no problem. Sounds good.
Nice.
And 8 months later, it was August 11th, actually. August 11th of 2013, I was dropped off at the dealership for my pickup.
Beautiful.
And it is Stryker red, only 61 of them made, 62 total. The first Hellcat that was auctioned off for charity was painted in Stryker red. Okay. Other than that Hellcat and the other 61 Vipers, as far as I know, no other cars have ever been painted in the Stryker red.
That's beautiful. And it goes to show, hey, if you're honest and tell them, hey, this was only my second choice, you never know what can happen.
I had no idea. I didn't even say it for that reason. I didn't think anything could be changed, and I wasn't even asking for that.
Honesty is the best policy.
Absolutely. And by the way, Ralph is that great of a guy. Okay, to listen to somebody who's buying a car from him. Thousands of people buy cars from him every day.
Yeah.
Okay, and him to spend a moment to listen to me and then make the change that the customer wanted, okay, and was willing to pay for. I still can't believe it happened.
That's awesome.
He's a great guy. He's the one that designed the car, by the way.
Oh, so
and if it wasn't for Ralph, there would be no Gen 5 Viper. He was the guy, mastermind behind it, changing it around the way he did the design, and then also the extra performance. I know him, and he'll take a lot of credit to the other people that work with him, and rightly so. But if it wasn't for Ralph, there would have been no Gen 5 Viper.
That's crazy. And it looks very different from the first Vipers that came out.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
this is a refined, still normally aspirated, still powerful car. But finally the nannies came around. We had ABS in the Gen 3 and the Gen 4 introduced. And then Gen 5 was the car that really had everything. It had the multiple suspensions, the track and street. It also had the traction control and ABS and comfortable. I mean, the interior is really deluxe, comfortable interior, also great air conditioning. The other Vipers, nice as they are, and I love them. I have a Generation 3 Viper also, but they're hot inside because you feel the heat from the engine, and this is more refined, more creature comfort, but still pretty raw when it comes to power.
Brakes wise, what do you have going on?
The Brembos, they were, I think, the largest brakes until the Hellcat came around. That was put on a passenger car by Dodge and by a lot of other manufacturers. Pretty, good four-wheel disc brakes all the way around and heavy duty.
Oh, okay.
And you get the red calipers.
Good stopping power. Now those, you're going to say?
I'll say one other thing I wanted to mention to you about the ordering of the car. Now, I don't know if this is a one of one, and it doesn't bother me if it is or isn't, but when they built the first 36 Stryker red Vipers, they built them all with a black interior, but they had a large red stripe on the seat.
Okay.
But the red wasn't the same color as the Stryker. It was a Viper red, okay, and it was different. And I didn't like it. The two colors clashed, in my opinion. So when I asked them to do this car, I got really bold to ask Steve, can I have one other favor? Can I have just an all-black interior put in instead of the black and red stripe? And he goes, yeah, we can do that. And this car has just all black interior.
Okay, so it's a little different.
Maybe. I don't know if anybody else did that or not, but I did.
So going back to your tires, now this is a pretty big tire. How big are these tires? Because this has got a very beefy tire.
They are wide, let's put it that way. The widest tires at the time when the car was manufactured that was on a production car, 345/30 19s. And I don't think they really wanted to go with 20 or 21s like some cars had, because the 19s really look good on this car.
Oh, yeah.
And it sits at the right level. But they are 345/30, so they're wide.
That's beautiful. I mean, it sets the car good too, because the rear of the car isn't narrow either if you look at it. And those tires, those big, huge tires, like I say, I'm a big fan of big tires in the back.
I don't think anybody looks at the back of this car and doesn't think that it's a powerful car.
Well, I'm pretty sure that a lot of people just see the back of the car as they try to catch up.
I try to make sure that happens.
So anyway, do you think we could have a look at the engine?
Absolutely. All right, so this is a clamshell type of hood. Viper went back to this in the Gen 5s. Gen 3s and Gen 4s had the normal opening hood. They went back to the clamshell hood, and this is a carbon fiber hood. The car is almost all carbon fiber and aluminum. This is the largest piece of carbon fiber at the time of manufacturing of any automobile that had been produced. And it has the headlights built in already, so you're ready to go in that situation. And as you can tell, it's a huge hood. So if your hood gets damaged on a Gen 5 Viper, that's a costly damage.
I bet.
That's not, you want to have something happen to you at the shopping center. So this is a 640. The next year, 2014, they bumped it all the way to 645.
Okay.
5 more horses they found somehow, but a 640 horsepower V10. Dodges, or should I say Vipers, have all had V10s through their career. From 1992 to 2017, every Dodge Viper had a V10. Every Dodge Viper had a 6-speed Tremec. So it was a very, very reliable powertrain for them.
Okay.
But they upgraded this thing to 8.4 liters for the Gen 5, and as I said, 640 horsepower. The Viper engine itself, there are a lot of misnomers about that, and I believe that I'm speaking the 100% truth here because it's all been a lot of stories around there. In the 80s, Dodge had a truck a truck V10 that they used in their trucks, and it had a lot of torque, and it was a powerful engine. It wasn't 640 horsepower, but it was a powerful engine, and it was iron block. So Dodge said that would be a great engine to use as a model for the V10 that they wanted to put in the Viper. So the story that I heard is they sent the cast iron block and heads over to Lamborghini, which at that time was owned by Chrysler, and said, duplicate this in an aluminum V10 because we want to use it for a sports car. Supposedly that was the story. Lamborghini did that, and that's how the 8.0 Viper engine came about, and then went to 8.3 and 8.4 and all that good stuff.
Okay.
Yep. So it's a strong engine, 600 pounds of torque, 640 horsepower, and 0 to 60. All that stuff's really fun. Yep.
I bet. So how about you show me how fun it is?
I love to do that.
All right, let's go. So thanks for bringing us for a ride, man.
Oh, you really twisted my arm. I had to do it.
So I noticed on some pictures I've seen on the internet of cars of this year. So there's two models, right? There's the GTS and there's the base model, correct?
Correct. The base model had like 6 scoops on the hood. This is a 3 scoop as such with the air intake. And the GTS, I think Dodge really thought that it was going to be like a 50% base model, 50% GTS kind of purchase by the buyers. But it turned out to be a whole lot more GTS than base. So people like the GTS hood. They also like the upgraded interior. When you get over $100,000 on a car, you kind of want to get what you can, and you don't want to go cheap in some areas. And I think that's what it really boiled down to, is people were willing to pay that kind of money for a car. The base price on the base model was $99,000, and I think the GTS model was around $114 for the base price. And you added all the options. And this one, because of the STRYKER red package and the upgraded Laguna interior. This is the Laguna leather interior, which Laguna is about 30 miles south of Corinthia. All right, so we have no idea why it's Laguna. But anyway, this is Laguna leather, and it also had the upgraded stereo system, upgraded speakers, things like that. And that got the car up to $150,000 when it was all said and done.
And that was back in 2013, right?
Yes, plus tax and tags. And yes, I did have to Many of my friends and family expected me to go to a psychiatrist anytime after I ordered this car. They thought I was completely crazy, but I've loved it. It's loved me, and I'm so far good crazy, because now the value is above it.
Oh yeah.
So that's good.
Well, these cars, you know how that's going to go.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I asked you a while ago, but on all models, were they all stick shift, or did they have any auto options?
Yeah, no automatic options in a Viper ever, and thank you. Appreciate that, Dodge. And again, V10s were the engine du jour for all of the Vipers too. So for 25 years, they made 35,000 cars. So that's more than 1,000 a year based on. 2 years there was no production, 2011 and 12. But 35,000 cars in 25 years is a small amount of automobiles. To give you a hint on the difference in production between this and Corvette, the 2014 Corvette had like 47,000 cars made that 1 year.
Oh, wow.
So they made in 1 year more Corvettes than they made in 25 years of Vipers. So it's just a very different type of car than a Corvette, and nothing wrong with Corvettes. They're great cars, but this is just a lower production model type car.
Now, I can't remember what year, but I did read about how the Dodge Viper was faster on the circuit than Corvette by very little, but it was
well,
faster.
the Viper also had, for a long time, I don't know if they still have it or not, but they had the world record for the fastest rear-wheel drive production car ever on Nuremberg, the German track. And they had an ACR Viper, and that was the fastest production. Now, they had a couple all-wheel drives, beat it very slightly, but for a long time, it was a record holder for a rear-wheel drive production car. So it beat the Z06s and beat the other Corvettes and beat the Lambos and all that good stuff that people are familiar with. It's been a very fast car.
So this is your license plate says U.S. exotic.
Correct. It is a U.S. exotic car. I thought so when I bought it, so I immediately got the personalized tag before anybody else did. But this is an exotic car made in Detroit. That's why I have a Detroit t-shirt on. Not because I'm from Detroit, but my car is from Detroit. This was one of the last cars, or one of the few cars ever made recently in the city limits of Detroit. And pretty proud of that. We love Detroit. That is the car hub, and the fact that the Vipers were made there is really great.
And this car actually isn't a Dodge; it's an SRT.
Technically, yes. For 2013 and 14, SRT was a standalone brand for Dodge, and Ralph Gilles was the CEO. So this is technically a 2013 SRT Viper GTS.
So why do you think they came up with the name Viper?
Well, they thought to make a car, when they came in 1989, the thoughts of making this car, they had the Cobra in mind of making it a more modern Cobra. So I assume since Cobra is a snake and Viper's a snake, it was probably a good idea. Maybe they already had it patented, I don't know. But Viper, because of snake, I'm assuming that really is the reason why.
Yeah.
Don't know that for a fact, but I'm assuming.
I guess they call it a snake because it'll sneak up on you.
Well, they'll bite you right in the tush is what it'll do. You got to be careful with these things. They say that 25% of Viper owners, when they pick their car up from the dealership, brand new, had an accident on the way home. May have been a minor one, but they did some boo-boo. And I'm glad to be proud of the 75%.
So with the massive engine that this has, what's the 0 to 60 on this thing?
It's in the 3-second range for 0 to 60, and the top speed was rated at 206 miles per hour. The way they came up with that is whatever track they were on when they did this, they had a regular driver. When I say regular driver, you got to be an exceptional driver to do that kind of speed. But they had an exceptional driver to find out what the top speed was. In one direction, he did 210 miles per hour. In the other direction, probably against the wind, he did 202. So they averaged it out to 206.
Okay. All right. Well, that's a pretty powerful car.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, our time is coming to an end, and you've already gave us so much. And here it comes. Oh yeah, definitely. That thing picks up and goes.
Yeah, and it's civilized about it too.
Oh yeah. It's not like really. Your engine is very how should I say, subtle
Polite.
pulling. Yeah,
It's a polite engine.
it's a polite engine.
But it still makes a lot of noise outside.
Oh, yeah.
But it's a very, very good cabin area.
Yeah, it's
you
very
can take
well
this car on a long trip and be comfortable.
Oh, I bet. And it is comfortable with the ride it's on right now. You're on what mode right now in riding?
This is just street.
Street mode only.
Yeah, I have it on street mode.
And it's pretty drivable.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, as I was saying, I appreciate the time you gave us. Do you have any special shout out you want to give to anybody?
Well, thank you, Ralph Shields. Okay, first of all, for making this car happen. And thank him for getting me the STRYKER red color. And I want to thank the dealership. I mentioned Heritage Dodge in Baltimore, Maryland. They were nice enough to give me the deal on it so that I could buy a car like this at a list price instead of a bumped up price. And nowadays, we all know how difficult that is.
Oh, yeah.
In 2013, it wasn't any easier on this, and they were very good to deal with. So that's my thanks go out, and just thankful to have this car and have the fun with it.
All right. So you guys heard it from Dave, Danny. We'll see you next time.